I'm unmuting again. Good morning and welcome to Unlock Your Mama Power here with me on New Thought Media Network. Today, talking about the story. Yeah, what is the story that you are hooked into, that you are unconsciously replaying and relaying in your life right now? Let's delve in more in a moment. Good morning. It's great to be here with you on this amazing Tuesday morning. I'm here in the UK, and wherever you are on this beautiful planet, you are welcome here right now. We meet here twice a week on Tuesdays and Fridays at 7:30 a.m. Mountain Time, which is 2:30 in the afternoon here in the UK. And really, we're meeting, mind to mind and heart to heart to uncover and unravel the myth, if you like, the story that we are hooked into. And I speak on this in many different ways, particularly, to women, because there is a whole myth around being, living out this divine feminine and who we are right now in 2021. As we are reshaping, remolding, re-energizing, reinvigorating our lives, that we are being called to relook at what we've told ourselves and how what we're telling ourselves may not be supportive anymore right now, and that we can change that. We're all here tapped in on social media. Of course we are, you are, we all are. This is a global thing now, and COVID has exposed this even more dynamically, where we are poised in front of the screen. And whether we're on a social media platform, or whether we're emailing, or whether we're, on YouTube, or whatever it is that we're doing, we're constantly searching and seeking on there for something. What is that something? I mean, I think often we're seeking for it to kind of fill a kind of seeming void that we have, that we're going to find it online and it will be the answer to everything in our lives. Just have a message here. Yes. Hello, Wayne. Welcome to Unlock Your Mama Power this morning. So this is what we're talking about, is the myth and the story. Good morning, Linda. Good morning to you. Great to be with you. Here we are. There's Linda. This is what we're talking about here today, is the story that we are telling ourselves. And so I'm going to tell you a story because I love stories. I love being, listening to other people's stories and hearing how that story is actually the universal story that we are all hooked into. We're seeing thousands and thousands of images a day, every 2 days, every 3 days. We're sitting here or standing or walking even with our phones and seeking something on this big screen. Now, in the time of Dr. Ernest Holmes, who I consider to be one of the most incredible synthesizers of spiritual knowing and of philosophy and of psychology, and how he has pulled and pieced all of this information together and created what he called the science of mind and spirit, which is a very, very unique teaching as a new thought teaching, where he revealed, you know, that there is this fog, if you like. He called it race consciousness. We can call it mass consciousness now. And that this fog is what we are being pulled into, this fog of ideas that we are being pulled into, magnetized almost into, like a hypnotic trance. And that we even are at the point many times in our lives where we don't believe that we can exit from that fog, or that we can demystify or demythify ourselves and live from that place of truth. Because often in our lives, that fog of information that may not be ours, and yet we've picked it up along the way on you know, it's there on that screen, as we are on that screen. And yet in his time, there weren't computers. There wasn't the level of interaction of technology that we have right now. So he was talking about, you know, this kind of human condition that really was about newspapers. What did they have then? They had, how did they, you know, the telephone that was hooked to the wall. You know, I'd love to have a conversation with him right now about what's going on with how we're living and operating our lives, and the mass consciousness that is kind of blocked in to our view and our psyche from the internet, and how we're dealing with this as another layer of stuff, because we're being programmed again and again and again, you know, we're sucked into it. I hear stories of people that actually switch off of social media, and I did that 2 years ago. 3 years ago, I just couldn't take it anymore, and it wasn't doing my mental health any good, and I was being sucked into everybody's story and what this one's doing and that one's doing. And I looked at my phone one day and I thought, F-ing hell, what am I doing? I'm not living my life. I'm living vicariously through other people here, and living for the next like and the next red heart and the next, you know, all of that stuff that goes on, because I didn't feel worthy enough at that time to be actually, you know, well, it doesn't matter about me. It was, I was kind of waiting for something to happen online for me, for my business. So I switched off, and that was the most incredible thing, because I felt freedom. I felt like I knew then I could come back to the truth of who I am without everyone else's stuff. Now, since I have gone back onto social media, and yet I don't really engage. I engage for one purpose only, and that is to show up here, to put out what I want to put out, and I'm not sucked into what I really don't need to be watching. So it takes practice. It takes another level of practice than those teachers like Ernest Holmes, those great teachers in the 1900s. You know, they weren't dealing with this. So we're being invited, if, as it were, to really, really be so aware of ourselves, of all of those thoughts that are going on. And we can't be aware of the 70,000 thoughts that are going on, because A, we don't know half of them, because 90% of them are subconscious, just on a hamster wheel recurring. So we're not even aware that they're happening. And that's where the work, you know, comes in, where we choose to interrupt the pattern, say, I'm going to do this piece of work. So the next piece really is to be really aware of our feelings, because our feelings are our tiny little, well, they're not tiny, I'm not diminishing the feelings, but what I'm saying is that they are the indicators. They're like the little lights that are going out into this area and that area that can really guide us. Our feelings are where we can't get to the thought because it's old and it's stuck and we can't see it for ourselves. We can know our feelings. We can tap into and become aware of what we're feeling on a moment by moment basis. And we know when things aren't feeling good. We know when things are unaligned, when we're unaligned, when we're not in the flow, when our life isn't We just have to look at the outpicturing of our lives. And then we see the experience and we make a choice as to how we see, how are we accepting what's going on right now? How am I looking at this experience? Can I shift and change that so that I can be a part of this flow of this beautiful life rather than resisting against it? Because when we resist, more of that will show up in different ways in our lives. So how do we do this? How do we become aware? What is it that we're being called to do as a practice to really center into ourselves? I think it's, for me, I would say, you know, and I say this to people that are in my groups and that I work with, that there has to be a level of saying no, that we have to create for ourselves our own beautiful pact, if you like, where we decide where the limit is, where it begins and where it ends, what we will tolerate and what we won't, how much time we want to be on social media, and how much time we actually are making for our own spiritual practice. Because it's great reading the books and it's wonderful to go into classes and it's amazing to sit with people and to learn and to share experiences. It's all very important and really vital because that's what pushes us on, you know, where we can see our lives differently and then, you know, have these amazing insights. And yet the insight is just the opener. It's like the door opening. We've then got to step over the threshold and we've got to make that commitment to ourselves to sit in the silence and do the work from within. And that can be very lonely. It can also be very challenging because for many, we don't want to sit in the silence. It's an uncomfortable place to be. And yet, when we're there and we ask these questions or we reveal these truths or we get closer to the idea of the infinite that is heaven in mind within us, then we can come away from that fog and choose to not be living as a reaction to what it is that we're seeing that is seemingly out there, rather than choosing the response of what is in here, within. I'm not saying, you know, there's no in and there's no out. You know, we see the experience and we don't like it. There's a lot that goes on in our own lives personally and in our families' idea of life and experience. And there's a lot that's going on in humanity as a whole on this planet that is like, oh, how can this be? How can this be happening? And it seems seemingly that we're fed all this information from politicians, from the health medics, you know, we're fed falsities. And we are then left in a place where we're not really knowing who to believe, who not to believe. What is the real truth? What is the story? Where are we being lied to? What is it that we're being kind of propagandized? And then there's this whole thing here in the UK going on right now where there's this whole freedom of speech. We have to be really careful with, you know, what we're saying, what we're not saying, and all of that. We're being gently molded and shaped in a way that is kind of really dealing with our human nature. And yet there's no one that can mold and shape what we believe and what we know as the truth. We're the only ones that can do this, and we do this in our spiritual practice. So we take a breath and we make a choice to make that space to be our own guides. You know, there are so many teachers and so many leaders and gurus and people that are here to guide. And yet we're the ones that have to, at whatever level we're at, that we have to be the ones to make that decision to say, okay, and I'm going to continue and I'm going to follow through with this. Because when we do that, we then create another ripple. We then set the spark in another way. And then we receive life differently to how we have done before. And it can happen in an instant. It can happen in an instant. So my invitation to you right now is to see in your life where those areas that you may feel are not working the way that you think that they should be working. And to actually lean into those areas and to begin to understand that this is one experience that we're experiencing right now. It is the flow of life that is flowing through us, and we are observing it, we're living it, we're observing it, and we can choose how we see it, and we can choose not to get sucked in to this fog consciousness. That's what I want to call it, because it is a fog. It is like a mist, a myth and a mist. Are you with me here? Yes, I have oh, Linda, I've just seen your message. I'm going to read it out. It's a lovely, transitioning into the space of incorporating the wide variety of information available on social media into our personal being and spiritual being is a rich and challenging opportunity, all in the same moment. It's a blessing that we get to choose what to include into our personal space. Absolutely. I'm putting that up there now because if people are watching now or will be watching this later, because I think what you've said and what you've written here is so powerful, because we have been invited, if you like, that word. I love that word. I love that word. I love an invitation. We are being invited to navigate this transition with our own intuition, and to say no to really what doesn't feel right. The key here, though, Linda, that I believe is that a lot of what is happening with social media and a lot of the imagery that we're seeing lands subconsciously. We're not even consciously aware of a lot of what we are seeing. You know, there's all this flick advertising. Even as we're scrolling, we may think, oh no, I'm not going to stop and actually read that post or view it. I'm just going to scroll past it. And yet the image has still landed. There are parts of it that has still landed. And this is the piece where I think we can take charge, or we can, choose to maybe even turn away from social media. And I'm not saying that's a drastic thing, because, we need social media. Ultimately, though, we can get clear on our beliefs. And that this is what I think that we're being asked to do, is to get really clear on our beliefs, on where we place our attention and our focus, and on the clearing work that we're doing on a daily basis for our lives. Ernest Holmes, I consider to be I'm just trying to get that onto a ticker thing, can't do it. Ernest Holmes, I consider to be a great teacher, the great teacher of my life and of my time. And of course, I've had the opportunity to work alongside and with and learn from teachers that are still here in physical and maybe not, that I've delved into and read about and wanted to understand more of. And the thread of all of it, whether we're coming from a spiritual or a scientific point of view, the thread of all of it here is that we know that consciousness is the one thing that is everything, and that we have the layer or the filters, if you want to call them filters, that we're choosing to live through. And as we defilter our view and our perception and come back to this one thing, which is the divine, which is source, which is the thing itself, as Ernest Holmes calls it, and we live by the principles of this one thing, then we're living in a way where we are choosing not to be sucked into the fog of the lie. Because it's really amazing. You know, I have at times I've had different mentors for my business. And if you have a business, you know, if you have your own business and your own thing, then, you know, we need these mentors because they can see us from different perspectives and push us and, you know, kind of, or offer us different ways of seeing our own creative process. And a few months ago, I had 2 mentors. Yeah, amazing. And it was really interesting to hear both of them. They didn't know each other, and they were giving me this information, both coming from completely different places. And one of them was really, really kind of like absolutely so positively powerful, and was really positive about the prices that I wanted to charge, the offerings that I was giving, and, you know, higher value, greater content and all of that, and very pro putting my prices in alignment with that, and really being a value based offering, which was for higher value. And then the other mentor, when she saw what I wanted, said, "Oh, no, you can't do that. You know, there's no one's going to want that. And you're aiming too high," all of that. And I've had experience of that in my work life before. And I know who I've chosen to go with, the one that is really increasing me in every way, empowering me to increase what my output of what I'm giving and what I'm sharing, rather than this contraction and diminishing. And I think, and I believe that for a lot of us, when we choose to listen to the norm, as it were, that we get sucked into a smaller version of who we truly are. Now, I didn't know that would be the message of what I was talking about for today when I started, and yet this is the key. Are you choosing to live from that smaller place, that place where everyone else believes that is the limit, that there is a limitation and that there is lack? Or are you choosing to come back to the divine within, to this incredible place where there are infinite potential possibilities, and to live from there, and to be this greater expression that we know is absolutely seeking to express itself through each of us right now? So I'm here to remind you, as I know I call myself the reminder, the activator and the reminder. I'm here to remind you, and me, of course, and each of us right now, to live from that lifted, higher place where we get to choose from a place of feeling and knowing that what we see as possible and what we feel as possible in our heart is possible, because it's been seeded there for us to open up to. Yeah. And very often we will choose to go the route of the narrow, limited fog consciousness, where there isn't that belief, where there is limitation, where we are compared, and we compare ourselves against others, and we then choose to diminish ourselves. Not on this show, because we're unlocking our mama power. And when we do that, we open up to these incredible possibilities and opportunities, meetings, experiences, sudden connections with people that seemingly are just coming out of the blue, you know, and it's really exciting. So I'm inspiring you for that today on this glorious Tuesday morning. And that's my phone going off. I'm going to just, that was my mom. So, pray to my mom. So that's my message for you, you know, and Ernest Holmes knew this, and he didn't have to go through all of this social media stuff, and we do. So we're experimenting here right now. We're experimenting for our own lives, for our own health, for our mental health, our spiritual health, our emotional well-being, our physical health, because the longer we're on all of this technology, doing all of this stuff, we're not out there power walking, or we're not out there, you know, in nature, enjoying, we're not really, you know, dancing and doing the things that are good for our bodies, or doing the yoga or the breath work or the mindfulness and the meditation. So let's reevaluate our spiritual practice right now. You know, get your notebook, have an honest look at what it is that you're doing, what you're choosing to do on a daily basis, and what it is that where you know that you have an opportunity to increase that practice. If you have been meditating for a long time, for 20 minutes a day, and that's it, well, you're a meditator, you're a good meditator, up it, you know, set yourself another limit, set yourself another expectation for your spiritual practice. Yeah, that was a good half an hour of me just saying it as I feel it and as I see it. And I feel so blessed that you're here right now watching. You can find out more on my website. You can see I am creating my courses and all sorts of wonderful things for you to tap into and tune into. And of course, please sign up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you will get to really choose what you're bringing in to your world and into your life. Choose it carefully. Choose mindfully. Choose carefully. Be aware of what you're sitting and watching, what you really want, what you really believe in, and what you are setting your expectations for. It is, you know, it's a journey. And we're being invited for this right now, because as a woman of power, as that top mama that you are, you have a lot of work to be bringing. You have a lot of information. You have a lot of wisdom that people are seeking right now. So it's up to us to keep our minds and our hearts clear, crystal clear, and in that really true knowing of the truth of who we are and the possibility of who we are right now. That is it for today. Unlock your mama power in every moment. Subscribe to New Thought Media Network. Have a look at my website, lauratopper.com. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And of course, we love a love offering here on New Thought Media Network. And the link is down below if you feel to be a part of that conscious giving and reciprocal process that we know is prosperity. Join in with the prosperity here. The link is down below for your love offering for New Thought Media Network. I will be back in half an hour with the prayer for today. So see you then. Love and blessings to you.